Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. My name is Melina Pedayacci. I am an affiliate alumna of the Center for Innovation Management Research, the CIMR, at Birkbeck. Some years ago, I was just like you, studying for my master's degree at Birkbeck. Since then, I have worked as an analyst and consultant, and I have also published a book on innovation strategy called The Innovators Method, bringing new ideas to markets. Today is a huge pleasure and honor to welcome you all. We have an exciting program ahead with stellar panels. So without further ado, I would like to invite Helen Lawton-Smith, Professor of Entrepreneurship and Director of the Center for Innovation Management Research, to tell us a bit more about the CIMR. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melina.
Thanks, Helen.
Is this going to show now? I'm going to try and put the PowerPoints up. How does basic problem? Oh dear. How am I going to load that file? Can you? It's not going to do it, is it?
Does Zain have your file?
Well, I'll do this one. Try and load it like this. See if that works. Okay. Well, sorry about the technical hitch. It's been a steep learning curve for a lot of us. So I would like to add my welcome to that of Melina's to our first online event. It's been an interesting process getting all the technology to work, and we hope it will work for the rest of the events. So we're delighted that so many of you have joined us. So there are over 50 people signed up. So I'm just going to introduce you to the CMIR. You saw a video, and it was nice to see some of our colleagues on that video. And it will be great when we can all be together again and have that kind of event. We are hoping to have a number of these events in the coming months. So this is the CMIR. This is our new website. The video you saw was from our old website, and Federica's been doing a fantastic job in updating this new one. So what we are, we're a college-wide research centre. We were launched in 2008. And our members are drawn from management-related social science disciplines and non-social science disciplines, such as computer science and biology. So we have colleagues in the School of Science and in the School of Law, and we invite everybody from different disciplines to join our events, and we invite colleagues from neighbouring colleges such as SOAS to join us. So we are a group of academic staff who form the core members, and we are responsible for one or more of the research themes within the centre. And Federica will go into more detail about the sorts of research that we do. Our PhD students are supervised by at least one of the centre's academic staff, and we have a wide range of visiting fellows from different universities in the UK and abroad. And they work with CMI events, they publish in our activities, and a lot of our visiting fellows are practitioners as well as academics. And the last category is our alumni, that we hope many of you will be joining us today, that what we tell you about what we do and the sorts of that we engage with will encourage you to stay with us when you graduate. Or if you are an alumni, please let us know how best we can develop the alumni engagement of the CMIR. So these are some of the things that we do, and Federica will go into much more detail about these, but we undertake research, we published, and you'll see on our website the annual report for last year, which sets out all the things that we did in 2019. I'll talk more about the international collaborations in a minute, and this is one of our series of events, and we also have a whole series of blogs and social media online, and we are in the process of developing more interviews with alumni. You'll be able to see videos which will give you a much better feel for the sorts of things that our former students like Melina are doing. And we're also engaged in impact, that our research is not only of academic interest, but we believe it to be important in policy making circles that has an impact on industry, and we are a research-led institution, so our impacts to the students that we teach, and we hope that when they talk about CMIR Birkbeck to their colleagues at work, that they'll have a broader impact on understanding of issues relating to innovation management research. So this is the sort of things that we do. We come from a variety of disciplines, as I said, social science, economists, law, political studies. There are several of us in CMIR who are economic geographers, and we're interested in innovation and the geographies of innovation. And so all of us have a common interest in public policy and economic development. So international collaborations, for some years now, Thomas Bukowski from the Cogood School of Business and I have been meeting at conferences and talking about research and engaging in research together. And 2 or 3 years ago, he approached us and said, would it be good to have a collaboration with the CMIR, with Birkbeck, and we've now signed a memorandum of understanding. And what that means is that we are working together on research. So colleagues have been working on fintech. We've got a new grant on emerging technologies. We're doing some work on disabled and VA entrepreneurs with colleagues in the Cogood School. And we're developing teaching programs. So the first one on blockchain that Severio Romeo is teaching is a direct development from collaborations with the Cogood School of Business. We've also got a collaboration with Circle Research Centre at Lund University in Sweden. And this is research funded by Vinnova, the Swedish innovation agency. And we were supposed to have a workshop in March, but clearly that hasn't happened given the awful situation we are in now. But it gives that flavour of international collaboration, which is a key feature of the CMIR. We're not just UK focused, but we are globally focused. And these are who we are. There's Federico Rossi, you'll be hearing from now, or Dr. Marion Friends in the clip, and also saw Professor Grazia Iato-Gillies on the clip as well, and Adil Jan and Klauss Nielsen are alumni coordinators. We publish extensively. We have an in-house journal published by Wiley, the Strategic Change Briefings in Entrepreneurial Finance, and that's edited by one of our visiting professors, Carlo Milana. And you can see the details of our papers on the CMIR website. And finally, alumni engagement, the purpose of this particular workshop. These are who the alumni are, and we're going to be hearing more about alumni engagement as we go along. And I'm now going to hand you over to Melina.
Thank you, Helen. So now I would like to welcome our special guests, Domesh Shah from Airbus and Dr. Klaus Hentrich from SPT LabTech. Domesh Shah is a business innovation manager of Airbus Defence and Space. He has successfully led the development and implementation of the internal innovation pipeline for the division, creating a portfolio of projects in various stages of development. He is also responsible for coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs and for building partnerships with incubators, accelerators, universities, and tech hubs. Domesh has also transformed the culture of Airbus to one that encourages entrepreneurship. Klauss Henrich is a global product manager for genomics at SPT LabTech. He has over a decade of experience in the commercialization of innovative products for scientific research and molecular diagnostics. In biochemistry, and he did a postdoc in molecular neuroscience at the Max Planck Institute. Thanks so much for being here, Domesh and Klauss. It's a great honor to have you here. Klauss?
Hello, well, thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for being here. So I have a few questions that I think will be relevant to the students. But students, if you have any other questions, please use Slido. There will be a 15-minute Q&A at the end, and your questions will be answered there, right? So my first question to both Domesh and Klauss, could you each in turn describe your role as an innovation manager? What would a typical day look like in your role? Should we start with Domesh?
Great, thanks for that, Melina. So my role as a business innovation manager, I wear multiple hats, put it that way. My role as innovation manager, I'm an enabler, I'm a disruptor and challenger, I'm a technology scout, I'm a coach and mentor, and everything in between, really. So, for example, as you mentioned it in my intro, I run an innovation pipeline. So, doing campaign management. But the proposals or the ventures that go through our pipeline, I am coaching our entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs to take them the idea from idea through to market. I can be running workshops to do a design thinking workshop to come up with ideas or monetization strategies, go-to-market strategies, or another day I could be writing marketing, doing newsletters. So I wear multiple hats as the innovation manager. I'm kept very busy doing that.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Klauss?
Yeah, I can see a theme emerging here. So I definitely had also noted multiple hats as a key point. I mean, coming at it as a product manager, that's typically, and that's always been my responsibility to look after a whole product portfolio across the whole life cycle. But kind of concentrating on, let's say, the kind of first part of that life cycle, I'd say it's about market research, technology scouting, engaging with key opinion leaders, setting up collaborations, and then also in the more formal product development process, creating business cases and getting funding approved from senior management. And then through this whole product development process, really the product manager acts as the voice of the customer and as the primary commercial input in that process, and then leads the planning for product launches and then executes on the product launch.
Okay, thank you. So Domesh, what are the key skills that you need as an innovation manager?
Key skills as a manager, I guess that depends on the type of organization you're in. In some areas you might need some technical skills like understanding some engineering, whether it be mechanical or software based or something like that. For example, in my area I work in Airbus, defense and space side of things. I'm formerly a mechanical engineer, so I always have that in the back of my mind when I am reviewing new proposals that are coming through the pipeline, or if I'm discussing our moonshots program and the ventures coming through that, or I'm out there scouting technology that will solve an internal challenge, anything like that. I have the engineering hat on in the background, so I can understand it from a technical aspect, and then from in the innovation manager perspective, I have to make sure that I understand the business case. I have to understand the financials behind it, what direction they want to go. Maybe I have to have foresight of my own organization's challenges and strategic direction, so that I can know how I can align these ventures and work with the innovator to better prepare them to go to market with us. So you really have to have skills both to understand what you're looking at and to be driven to self-learn. In many areas you might be looking at technology that you don't fully understand, so you have to have that drive there. And you also have to be able to have a hands-off approach as well. In some instances, you have to give the innovator empower them to work on the idea, give them a bit of freedom and some rope to go out there and do the work they need.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Klauss?
Yeah, to me, it's a combination of two major areas. The one, I think that also echoes what you said. It's the deep domain expertise and really understanding what exactly the applications are, be able to engage with the key opinion leaders on a very technical level, and also engage with the development team on that level, really. And then the other side is the business side. It's about understanding how commercialization works, what are the success drivers for a product introduction, how to develop a convincing business case, present that to senior management, who are typically on MBA level qualifications, so that it makes sense to them. And also to be able to convince the finance department, which I've certainly learned in very big organizations is a key aspect to everything as well.
Yeah.
And do you think that those skills will evolve in the future, Klauss? If so, how?
I thought about this a bit. I think the foundations will remain the same, but the tools we use change and evolve. So definitely social media has been big. And for example, I found Twitter extremely useful to keep really at the pulse of what's happening in the scientific community and learn about things as they're happening pretty much in real time. And I'm sure there will be more examples like that in the future. So I think it's more about keeping up with the tools and the channels that that customers and potential collaborators use.
Okay, thank you. And do you share that view, Domesh?
Yeah, Klauss said it perfectly. The tools will stay the same, but it's just the fundamentals will stay the same, but the tools will evolve. The channels will change slightly, and it's our job to really keep abreast of that. And ultimately, those are how we're going to reach our customers in the future, how we're going to pump content to them and get their eyes onto our products or get their opinions back on what we are developing.
Okay, thank you. You mean in terms of testing or?
Yeah, it can be whether it be testing, whether it be reach, whether it be even internally, how you are selling your product internally to the key stakeholders. All of these channels. I mean, we look at how we are now. We're having to do things virtually. You're no longer in person, so you're going to have to adapt these skills. It's still the same skills you need to be able to talk to somebody and convince them. You just have to do it through a new medium.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And Domesh, what are the main challenges that you face as an innovation manager?
Many. The list is extensive. But I think the biggest one in every organization is resources, and by that I mean manpower. Ideas can be amazing, but if you don't have the manpower to work on it and the management to allow those resources to work on that whilst spreading the workload for the rest of the team to pick up workload, innovation goes nowhere. So that for me is probably the biggest challenge we face, is getting that understanding into sort of that middle management area, because you can have a bottoms up approach, people wanting to innovate, top down senior management saying we want to innovate, but at the end of the day it's always in the middle that's driven by delivery, by targets, by the resource constraints they have. And so that's where the biggest challenge for me lies, is working with those to enable our innovators to innovate.
So you need to take people from the existing business to the new ventures. That's your.
yeah, you have to give them the ability and the freedom to work on these new ventures, whilst, you know, in some instances they may have to do both. They still have their core delivery to do. We have products to deliver, and you know, innovation, working on new ventures, new ideas are not going to return a profit instantly. They take time to develop and come to fruition, or, you know, fail, whatever it may be. So you have to we have to work with the managers, middle managers, to really get them in that understanding, in that mindset, to realize that this is for the future of business, and find ways of balancing those resources and those expectations.
Okay, thank you. And do you face similar challenges, Klauss?
Yeah, I mean, I had noted two key points, and one of them is in the life science specifically, and in genomics even more. It's the pace of change in the whole technological landscape. And I mean, what that leads to is, it's a challenge to keep up with all the information while, you know, doing all the other tasks that all the many hats require. And that also leads to a challenge in terms of targeting a development project. So if you think about an instrument development project that might run over a few years and is an investment of, let's say, several million, and you basically you're aiming at a fast-moving target that's rocketing somewhere in the future, and you can't be entirely sure where it is going. And so that's definitely a big challenge in my field. And the other one I would say is the products that I've been involved in, they're typically embedded in a bigger workflow. So it's something that's being used in conjunction with other products and instruments to produce a final outcome that a researcher wants. And so the challenge then becomes to understand the whole workflow in detail, and actually how the different elements of that workflow are going to evolve over time, and then try to target that into the future.
Okay.
And yeah, definitely, I mean, I can also second the point about resources and prioritization, because there's usually no shortage of good ideas. And the big challenge is often then to really find the best ideas among the good ideas.
Thank you. And briefly, Klauss, how do you overcome those challenges? Very briefly. I mean, how do you overcome that the uncertainty with respect to?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think about development projects in a way as developing capabilities, and ideally something that is useful in different scenarios in the future, so that it comes with some inbuilt flexibility, so that you have some points where you can still pivot if something changes, rather than trying to just follow one scenario and then maybe a year and a half down the line find that actually it's going in a different direction, if that makes sense. The other thing in terms of prioritization, I've seen it done differently in different companies. Some companies have a very rigorous approach, basically a big spreadsheet with NPV numbers and ROI numbers, and they draw a line. That might sound familiar. I always liked a bit more of a flexible approach that also keeps an eye on qualitative questions about company strategy and general strategic fits, where it's less easy to put a number on, but I think it's equally important.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to agree with Klauss. You know, it's not always easy to put a number on things and decide that simply based on ROI whether a project should continue or not, because there are always unforeseen factors. And you know, our ways of overcoming that challenge, or our roles, have to be to have that deeper understanding of our industry, have that wider network than our innovators have. For example, a lot of my innovators will sit within certain business units, but I sit at divisional level and have a wider view, a wider network. So I'm always selling all of my ideas to everyone in business to keep that open communication going, keep that understanding. So if it's not fitting in one area, we may find actually it could fit here, or it could add to this product line or this systems that is being developed. So it's all about having that wider view and being able to keep communicating about it and helping them tweak it along the way so it fits somewhere. Or if it doesn't, you know, having that maturity when to say, okay, enough's enough, time to stop. Let's take that learning. You know, it's not just, and the other factor here is it's not just ROI. return on investment. It's learning from investment. How much can we learn from what we've invested? And how can we distribute that learning so we are able to be better going forward?
Okay, thank you. So, Domesh, how do your teams come up with new product concepts? And could you briefly tell us what are the challenges that you have experienced to bringing some of those concepts to execution and to market?
Yeah, okay, so how we come up with new products and concepts, first part. Well, that's, we'll run a campaign. I'll use my internal campaign that actually we just opened last week. It's an internal entrepreneurial campaign. So we give a set period that the campaign is open from. We give a compass. So our compass is like, here's our strategic direction for 2020. Here's the challenges, the areas we want to innovate in. Now go away and think about that. And then within our organization, we have an innovation ambassadors who are an extension of the core innovation team, who can support other innovators, or who have been on the innovation journey themselves, so they can run a design thinking workshop within the specific business units around certain challenge statements, and they use this to come up with many ideas, down select them, refine them before submitting them. So that's really a key way that we collect these ideas or have teams come up with new products and ideas, is by giving them a compass, giving them the training and the resources to do it. And giving out as much information. We have a newsletter that goes out on a monthly, if not bi-monthly basis, that talks about what's happening, not just within our organization, but what's happening in the wider industry, in the wider world, to inspire them to come up with new ideas and new ways of working as well. And then to your second part, the challenges of bringing concepts to market. That's still a challenge. There is no one answer that solves that. The biggest challenge for me is we come up with many ideas, many concepts and ventures, but it's how do we sell that back to the organization, and finding those stakeholders who will then be willing to put some money on the table and take it just from the innovation team developing it to the actual business line developing it, and using the business line's resources, marketing, legal, finance, to take it to market, to the sales teams to get it in front of the customers. And in the past, we've had projects develop, get to the point where they're ready to go to market, and then they come to the business line and no business unit is ready to take it on because has not been fit with strategy. It's not been developed with the business unit. But now I've changed that model on its head a bit. We get our business units and stakeholders from those business units early on in the gate review process, and if we don't have that co-development, that co-funding from a business unit and innovation, then that's almost one of our reasons for stopping a project, because we don't have that business unit buy-in, and that sort of helps us overcome that challenge.
All right, thank you. How about you, Klauss?
I'll describe it a bit from the point of view of a smaller company. So starting with, let's say, kind of a clear identity, what the wider market is and what the core capabilities of the company are. And then really what we've done workshops, first of all, to define the next area that we want to focus on, and really pull in ideas from pretty much all parts of the organization that are in some shape or form customer facing or have input from the market. And with that general direction set, then it's been an iterative process, really, defining some concepts. Then we've put these concepts in front of key opinion leaders, got their feedback and thoughts on that, refined concepts, and really kind of went deeper step by step, really, in our process. And in terms of the challenges, what I find it's really important to be very clear about the applications and the market segments one wants to target, because that usually has important implications about the specifications, and engineering teams are very keen on having very specific specifications, and then also in terms of picking the right alpha and beta customers in a way that they are representative for the future target market, and a wide enough target market. I mean, I find that's another challenge, and then also managing those relationships in a way that both sides really benefit, and really both sides get out what they need for that project.
Okay, thank you. So I would now like to direct this question to Domesh. You mentioned that you have transformed the culture of Airbus to one that encourages entrepreneurship. Could you briefly describe how you did that?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I don't want to take full ownership of that. You know, I have a team. I work with a team. We've all worked very hard to create that. But yeah, we created this culture over time. 5-6 years ago, we were a traditional organization. Innovation is there, and has always been there. But sometimes things were very siloed. Business units working very much within their silos. No cross, no talking across between business lines. No sharing of not enough sharing of information. So one of the first things I did to build that culture was trying to take all these different siloed innovation streams and create a single point, a single entry into innovation. It gave us more visibility of the ideas that were going to be presented by people. It stopped duplication and double funding, things like that. But what we also did was to build this culture is that we concierge this concept of an entrepreneurial pipeline on different sites all around Europe, and what we did was we built our early adopter base to build this culture of innovation, and that early adopter base was not just our innovators innovating, but it was managers and finance people, legal supporters, people who want to enable, just like ourselves, innovation and be part of the process. And this adopter base then can make noise about wanting more of this, and that slowly transformed into the culture. And then from that, we have grown a training system, an entrepreneurial pipeline, a moonshots program. Beside that, what other things were existing in the organization as well that we didn't know about, and our role was to join the dots up and make it visible and say, look, as an organization, we have outposts who are doing innovation around the world, in Silicon Valley, in China. We have externally facing incubators, and really promote this message across the organization that all of this exists, and here's what it looks like now. We've mapped it all and made it visible to everyone. And as I said, we have these early adopters. We have this support base now that anytime we run a campaign, we get hundreds of ideas coming, usually from the same people, doing more and more ideas because they love the journey, they love the process, and that's built our culture of innovation.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, to both Klauss and Domesh, do you have any advice or comments for the students, especially with respect to their dissertation? What would be an interesting area for them to research?
Sure. I find the whole technology area of DNA sequencing super interesting. I mean, the cost of DNA sequencing has dropped faster than Moore's law over the past 15 years. And I mean, I see two main aspects here. One is how the investment in the Human Genome Project has created this whole new industry, and pretty much spawned that industry and all the innovation that came with it. And the other interesting story here is how one company has disrupted the whole field and then has managed for now over 10 years to fend off all the competitors and out-innovate everyone, and really to carry on dominating that field. So I mean, that's something that I personally find super interesting, and I would encourage everyone to go look in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Very good one, actually, Klauss. I'm going to stick a little bit closer to home, and I would say think about future mobility. And that's all forms of mobility, especially in light of how the world has now changed over this past month. Air travel is down, bus travels, trains, more people. I mean, heck, the skies are clear. You can see it in India. You can see the Himalayas. You know, and all of this will have an ongoing impact going forward. People still need to travel. Mobility will still be needed, but what will mobility look like in the future? We already have many new forms of transport coming about, whether it be electric scooters, electric skateboards, electric bikes, electrification in general. But what could that look like, and how can we enable that more?
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, are there any books or approaches that have influenced your approach towards innovation? Domesh.
Okay, yeah, I'll go for it. Books-wise, I think, looking over my shoulder, I guess my two main ones are The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, obviously, and Exponential Organizations, which are two very good books, and especially Exponential Organization, understanding your data and being able to grow insight from that and develop. But one other one I highly recommend, and this is based on a course I've done, is called Think Wrong. It's by a company based in Silicon Valley, and the best way to explain their methodology is design thinking on steroids. So it's a great way to come up with disruptive new concepts. So really good reading their book and looking at their methodology.
Thank you. How about you, Klauss?
Yeah, I mean, the number one that came to my mind is the work from Clay Christensen. I think everyone has probably read that, and I found that absolutely fascinating. Two maybe less known books. One is called Super Forecasting, that I found really insightful, and another one called Flash Foresight by Daniel Burrus. All in the general theme of trying to look ahead of the curve and try to anticipate what's coming. And also in a more general vein, I found the books by Nassim Taleb quite interesting, and certainly have influenced the general way I think about probability and risk. And I think in a subtle way that actually also has changed my approach to the practical things in my job in terms of product development and innovation.
Well, thank you very much. We've reached the end of this session. Thank you very much again, Domesh and Klauss, for being here today and for giving us an insight into the real innovation world. We will come back to you during the Q&A session. Thank you very much again. Now, thanks. Now I would like to invite Federica Rossi, Deputy Director of the CIMO, to tell us how the CIMO supports alumni. Hi, Federica.
Hello, thank you very much, Melina. This was very interesting, and I will be very brief because I think we've got a very, very busy program. And so since Helen has already given a bit of an introduction to the center, I will try to be brief, as brief as possible. I'll just grab my slides now. So I just wanted to integrate what Helen said about the center with a couple of more things about the things that we do. And in particular, Helen talked about research. So what I'm going to talk about is how do we engage with the public, with the more general public, with more general audiences outside the center, and also what kind of impact we have on policy, on industry, and so on. So I think my slides should be coming up in a second. Possibly. Yes. Why is it not letting me do it? Sure. Okay. So this is the center. This is what we do: research, engagement, and impact. And in terms of engagement, for example, we like to do events. We do lots of events. And the other thing we do is we try to have engagement online via blogs and social media. And then hopefully now that we are learning how to use this platform, we'll do more events online as well, even when we are able to go back to the college. So in terms of the kinds of events that we do a lot of research seminars and workshops where we have academics to present their work, but we also invite policymakers and people who work in business to discuss our ideas. So we tend to have quite a lot of these events, probably about 5 or 6 per year. We have PhD workshops where our PhD students present their work, and they often have a discussant who is maybe a more experienced academic. What happened is when we have a visitor, an international visitor, we task them to discuss some of our PhD students' work, which is great experience for them and the opportunity to work with, to get their work read and commented by someone who is like an international guest. We do methods workshops, not very many, but for example, last year we had a guest from Barcelona who gave us a 2-hour tutorial on qualitative comparative analysis, which was really brilliant. We've started doing policy roundtables where basically we invite policymakers to ask us questions. There was one last February, I think there was, where the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy came to Birkbeck and they asked us questions about policies around small business management and leadership. And that was quite productive because you can, when you do this kind of event, you can give a very direct input into policy. You have like a one-to-one line with the policymaker. We've done executive training. For example, we've given training to delegations from China. And what we would like to do more of is engagement with our alumni and current students. And today is an example of one of those. To give you a sense of what we're planning for this, so this is what we did last year, PhD roundtable, research workshops, training, research seminars, and executive training, and so on. Our schedule for this year has been a little bit disrupted by the fact that we can no longer be at the college. So we started off with a policy roundtable. We had a nice panel debate in February. It was very well attended, where we talked about international perspectives to university-industry collaboration. We had a very nice panel with guests from the US and the UK and elsewhere. Then today we have our online event today. And then we've got more plans for online events for the summer. For example, there should have been a book launch of Helen's book, so hopefully that will take place in some form. We have a yearly strategy meeting, and then we're going to launch a series of online seminars. For example, one should be on the Green Deal for Europe, a paper written by our colleagues Daniela Kibuji and Mario and friends. There will probably be another event organized by Saverio Romeo in collaboration with the Cocoa Business School. And there should be a seminar in the autumn together with Simona Iamarino from the LSE on place-based innovation policies in the era of inequality. Anyway, watch this space because obviously we've got plans for more and more things. We have our blog where we showcase our research, we share news, we promote our events, and we profile our members. Helen mentioned earlier that we would like to have more interviews with our current and former students, for example. We've got a couple of really nice interviews, one with Doyne and one with Ise, our current PhD students. We would like to do more of those. This is the link to the blog. If you go to the blog, you can actually subscribe to it by putting your email at the bottom of the page, and you should receive updates when the blog is updated with new posts. We get quite a lot of hits to the blog, and as I said, you can subscribe to it so you receive the posts that we upload, and then we do a lot of dissemination via social media of the same blogs. We do impact, like I said earlier. So, for example, we work with policymakers. I'm going quickly through this one. I'll just give you some examples here. For example, Helen, she works with the OECD. She went to Thailand on a mission, working on an emerging advanced agriculture and biotech cluster. Helen is also working on with the Innovation Caucus, which is it's an advisory group to the UK government, and she's working on this project on the increasing of participation of people with disability and people from BAME communities in business innovation. Our colleague Musu da Silva, she's been on a trade mission to India with the UK's Intellectual Property Office. I've worked on a project of the World Intellectual Property Office. Musu and I are working with the OECD on another project. So we do a lot of policy relevant work as well, which is great because in a way we can get our ideas into the realm of policy, so we can get some input or impact of what we do. But on the other hand, we also get ideas for better research because we understand what is it the policymakers are thinking about, what are the problems that they're currently trying to solve. So it's really nice to have this kind of engagement with policy as well. Finally, we have a working paper series, and each paper is peer-reviewed, so it's a good quality series, and is indexed in Birkbeck, so it gets good visibility. And the good thing is that the thing of interest for MSc students is that some papers in the series have actually been authored by MSc students as well. So when students were particularly good dissertation, you know, we do give them the opportunity to develop a working paper to appear in our series. Of course, that needs to be really good quality. It is peer-reviewed, so there will be quite a bit of work to transform the dissertation into a working paper. But you know, for students who have the kind of really good quality project, is a very nice way to get visibility, give visibility to their work. And to finish with, how can you get involved with the CIMR? Well, you can participate in our events, and if you join our mailing list, you will be invited to all sorts of things. You can propose ideas for future events. So, for example, this event today was proposed by Doin and Melina. It was their idea to go ahead with this event, and we're really pleased that they have. You can blog for us. For example, we can do a video profiling you as an MSc student, or you can come with ideas to us with ideas for blogs that could appear on our website. Once you have graduated, you can stay in touch with us. You can come back as a guest speaker. So, for example, often in our lecture, we invite our alumni to come and talk on a particular topic that they are expert in. As I said earlier, you could develop your dissertation into a working paper. We are more than happy to receive suggestions from you in how can we better involve our alumni and our current MSc students in the research center activities. We think that the research center is a very nice resource. And you know, we really want to build a community that involves our students as well, and not just us academics. So I hope that this overview was, I mean, I went through this quite quickly because I don't want to take off time to our next panel, which also promises to be very interesting and very relevant. But you know, to get in touch, you have my email, you have Helen's email, and you can also go through the website and subscribe to the blog, as I said earlier. But for all inquiries, it's best to email myself or Helen directly, and we will respond. So without further ado, I think I will just pass the microphone to Doin, who is moderating the next panel. And of course, if there are any questions, I will take them in the Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Federica, for that. And thank you, everybody else, the panelists, and Damesh, and also Klauss. And so we are now at the point where it's about you, all you MSc students online today. And I have a very, very interesting panel. One of the things we've got to love about this lockdown is we're no longer limited by location. So I have here on the panel, we have Abir Abugate, and Abir is joining us from Jordan. And then we have Alexei. Alexei is joining us from Russia. And we have Maximilian, who is joining us from Germany. And of course, we have Ritu, who is joining us. She's in London. So we have it all covered there. But that's amazing, isn't it? Great to have you all on the panel. And let's go right into it. So I'm going to start with you, Alexi. I met you in Birkbeck last year, I believe, and I remember then that you were working as a corporate lawyer in a VC firm. And one day I got a prompt from LinkedIn saying, congratulate Alexi for his new role as a data scientist. And I'm wondering, law, data science, how did you do that? And I remember having a chat with you on LinkedIn, and you said your dissertation had something to do with it. So Alexi, do you want to share that journey with us?
Yes, hello everyone. How you doing? Thank you for having me here today. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah, actually you're right. I worked in venture capital fund, and mostly almost 8 years I worked as a venture lawyer. And I decided to change my career, to shift my career into data science. And that wasn't easy, of course. It was quite difficult change because it's quite extreme, between law and data science. But it was something that I was passionate about, and I did a lot during my spare time to learn statistics, to learn programming. And I decided to do this shift step by step. And that is why I took MSc program, Business Innovation program from Birkbeck. It helped me a lot, actually. It helped me to get an overview how companies manage their innovation processes, how they innovate, how they basically change their business processes to be successful. And during my studies, when it comes to dissertation, I decided that, okay, I should choose some really interesting topic that will definitely contribute into my future career. And I choose the topic that sounds like the role of machine learning algorithms in small and medium-sized enterprises. So basically, I learned how small and medium-sized enterprises can use new technology, big data, and machine learning algorithms as a core component for their transformation, for changing their business model, value creation chain.
Okay.
So, and during several months, yes, I was working on it, and it helped me to clarify what next steps I should do. It helped me to communicate with the right people and with interesting people who actually work on this topic from industries. And it also helped me now. I mean, I have big picture about business processes, and my process of developing my expertise in data science, it's still ongoing process. And yeah, actually it helped me a lot.
Wow, that's interesting. So it does seem as if you planned this all along. Before you registered for the MSc, you always knew you were going to become a data scientist, or did you find that out as you did the MSc?
Well, I actually, I planned it, but I didn't have like clear step-by-step plan. I mean, I had a plan that I should do this MSc program, but what will be next after that? I had some vision about that, but working on my dissertation and studying helped me to clarify this next step, helped me to understand, oh, okay, this is what small and medium-sized companies need, this is what they do, and this is what they expect from new technology, this is how they make decisions, so I should do this one, and this one, so I should move to this area. So it helped me actually to like clarify my vision.
Okay, that's really interesting, Alexis. So it's more like your MSc was what propelled your career change somewhat. I'm going to come back to you, but I'm going to go now to Abir. Abir, thank you for joining us. And I remember that we were on this master's program about the same time. And then you told me a story about how you were, we can't hear you, by the way. I think you're still muted, so you might want to mute yourself. And so I remember you telling me then that you were born and raised in a refugee camp, and you were passionate about doing something for others like you. And you said you were going to try to go back to your country to make a change. And you also said your dissertation helped you to do that. Can you share what your dissertation was all about and how your life has changed since writing that dissertation? Abir, we can't hear you. Yes.
Now?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So thank you so much. Actually, I'm a woman on a vision to create 1 million jobs by the next 10 years.
Wow.
So to do that, yeah. So to do that, I know that I have some weakness, and I need to develop it to do or to achieve my mission. So I decided to do that through doing social outsourcing, social IT outsourcing. So my dissertation was about how to find the success business model and the success factors of social outsourcing organization. So by identifying, for example, their strategies, best practices, and business models. So during my dissertation, I tried to approach international and national companies to find solution and to find answer on my question. So I targeted companies from developing countries and from developed countries. So the point was how to create or how to do value creation between business and social activities, and how you can enrich or how you can achieve social change in the life of people in developing countries, like creating job opportunities for them and empowering women, and at the same time how you can also support the innovation in developed countries. And my dissertation was talking or finding these ways, and also finding the best business model to connect between companies in developed countries and in developing countries. Now, after finalizing my dissertation, I fly directly to the United States, and I tried to find contracts before going even to my country. So I signed the first contract with companies in Silicon Valleys, and then I went directly to my country and said, look, we should find solution. Let's work. We have a big opportunity. I didn't expect anything at the beginning, but I start with 10 women working from a conflict zone from Gaza. As you know Gaza, it's a conflict zone. So all of them were unemployed, all of them. So we start working with the Silicon Valley companies, and in less 1 year, we create 100 job opportunities for
Wow.
women and young people, and also we create even revenue. We create like $250,000 as a revenue as a company, and also we train more than 1,000 people from disadvantaged people in the company.
Wow.
And I believe that my dissertation allowed me to do that. It's opened my eyes for new opportunities. Keep talking with brilliant students like Diane and also other friends. It's opened my eyes, and also it's enabled me to think bigger.
Wow. So you had this dissertation that you were trying to just do to get marks and maybe open doors, and it led you straight to Silicon Valley. 100 jobs, 100 people are now employed because of it, and you're increasing the revenue. I am inspired. Well done. But you know, you're not a native English speaker. So did that pose a challenge? I know you got the innovation prize for your dissertation and all that. How was that process of writing a dissertation, not having English as a first language? Did it pose any problems? How did you manage that?
Yeah, actually, because also I raised in refugee camp, my English language was really weak. So, I used at the beginning. It was so hard for me to understand the language or to express about the ideas that I want to express, and even reading complex papers and research. It was challenging. It took a lot of effort and time at the beginning. But I overcome that. The other challenge that I faced as a student also, it was I was at the beginning. I was not sure that I am doing the right thing. So all the time going to my supervisor asking her, "Oh, is that right? Is that right? I'm doing the right thing or not?" So I can't forget what my supervisor said. She said for me, "Abir, you are the expert in this field. You are expert even than me in this field. So you have the answers." At the beginning, that was frustrating because I was, you know, under stress and everything. It was difficult for me. But now I can, I really appreciate what my supervisor told me and how she giving me the guidance to find the solutions that in this way that I'm using in my business now. So when I didn't find any solution or any answer, I always say, "Abir, you are the expert, so you should find the solution." So I always looking and find solutions.
Well done. Thank you, Abby. I'm going to come back to you. But I'm going to move to the third panelist here. And I have Maximilian. Maximilian,
Hey.
yes, so you came from a very, very techy background, and you know, were doing your engineering work and all that, and you decided that you wanted to do this MSc, Masters in Business Innovation. And yeah, I'll just let you talk about your whole master's program and what you learned and what you're doing now.
Yeah, hi. So as you said, for me, it was quite a change because from my bachelor's background, from my engineering, I was used to have like quite a practical approach. And when I came to the Business Innovation Masters, I first learned like all the theory about the buzzword innovation, about this big field. So I started to get deeper in this underlying writings about the facts. And when I started for my dissertation, I've discovered that especially like in London, like in this big innovation hub, there's a big thing going on about like innovation consultancy, and I didn't found any literature which like closely dealt with this topic. So I thought, yeah, maybe it's a good thing to discover more about it. Yeah.
So your dissertation was about spotting a gap and trying to plug that gap. Is that what you'll say?
Yeah, exactly. Especially for me, because I was not so deep into theory, I could not really like connect things together so well. So for me, because I could not find really anything about like the big topic, I thought like, yeah, okay, why is there no writing about it? And then I discovered that the field is like named under like a different word, and it's about innovation intermediaries. But especially because in Germany, like this term is not really existing, so I was not aware that like there is really anything going on in this group of firms. So that's where I ended in this topic, basically.
Okay, and what was the topic again, Maximilian?
For my dissertation, I was mapping like the field of innovation consultancy. So it was basically about external innovation support for companies.
Okay, and you've carried on with that to your PhD now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So right now I developed the topic, and it's now about like the role and the process of innovation intermediaries collaborating with firms in the modern business context, especially also like on digitalization and Industry 4.0, because it's like a big topic going on. But I felt that there is still like a big difference between like the theory and the practical approach. So for me, with a little bit like both backgrounds, it's really interesting to have two perspectives on the topics. Yeah.
Okay, and apart from your PhD, has it enhanced your work, changed what you do at work, or?
Yeah, for me it was quite a big difference, because like right now, when you just don't know the practical side, when you also discover that like there's a lot of theory going on, and if you can like connect both ways of thinking, I think it's quite helpful for you personal and your job like developments, if you can understand both perspectives, practical and the theoretical way.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Maximilian. I have another PhD student on the line, Ritu, and Ritu is my PhD buddy, where we have a lot of interesting conversations, and we always reflect back to our time doing our masters and what we're doing now. And Ritu, I know you have you run a training consultancy, so you do that alongside your PhD, and you're very passionate about that, aren't you? But tell me about your dissertation and how it positioned or has influenced what you're doing today.
So my dissertation was on resource exchange and network development in co-working spaces, and I was very, very interested in it. I'm really interested in networks and entrepreneurs, so I thought this is great. And along the way, I came across these relationships that entrepreneurs have that combine business and friendship in one relationship with other people, multiplex relationships. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, but I kept on coming back to it, and it kept on cropping up in my research as a theme. And so that was really unexpected and really interesting. And what was really interesting is that it kept on cropping up, and I talked to people outside of my research about this. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I design and facilitate accelerator programs. I do coaching, facilitation, and consultancy. So I kept on talking to people, and they would keep saying, oh my gosh, I have to talk to you. I have to talk to you. I really want to talk to you, because it was something that really resonated with them. So I couldn't leave it alone. At the same time, professionally at the same time, I was designing and facilitating an accelerator program for BAME female founders. And it was the first program particularly positioned as such in London, and we've done quite a few of these programs now. I've run quite a few of them. And I noticed that these programs, the cohorts, they interacted differently from other cohorts. And there were also, I started talking to them, and they would talk about the issues they experience around access to finance and inequality in entrepreneurship. And these particular types of relationships, they impact on that. So it was quite interesting. It's driven me, the combination of the two has driven me both to my PhD subject, and also professionally, it's guided my work as well. I'm doing a lot of work now. My work is very much focusing much more on networks and inequality.
Okay, so did you have to change your topic midway, or you change your focus, or because you seem to have started with one thought and somehow discovered new things? Did you change your topic, or what did you do?
So I didn't change my topic, but I think I used a very specific methodology which departed from the methodology that everyone was using. I just thought this doesn't do it. I thought I can do something that's I can do something which I think will capture aspects which other research hasn't. And so with that, it did allow me to delve into aspects of my research that originally I hadn't expected to. I did shift how I was presenting it, which aspects I analysed in more depth, those sorts of things. And of course, where it's led me. So I'm looking to extract an article from it, publish something from it. And I'm very much looking at things that I would never have thought at the start of all of this, that's what I'd be looking at. I mean, absolutely never thought that I would look at this at all. But
so has that informed your PhD thesis or?
Yeah, my PhD is looking specifically at these types of relationships. It's looking at inequality, these types of relationships, how they're managed, how they're formed in the entrepreneurial context. I am an entrepreneurship geek. And that is the foundation of my PhD, and I never would have stumbled upon that topic had it not been for my dissertation. And when I started my dissertation, when I picked the topic, I had no idea that there was this particular type of, network relationship. I had absolutely no clue. So it was quite a process of discovery.
Okay, thank you, Ritu. We're just going to play the, we've been there, done that. Now we can advise you because you have so many MSc Business Innovation students online. So if we're going to give them just one piece of advice, what would it be?
So the best advice that my supervisor gave me was just start. Just start, just start. And specifically if you're doing, I think it's when you've got a lot on your plate. I was working at the same time. I had lots going on, and many other students at Birkbeck do as well. It can be, really tempting when you've got modules and you've got work and you've got your PhD or your master's to say, I'm going to put off my research until a little bit later. I'm going to think about that a little bit later. I'm going to start with interviews a little bit later. But actually, he just said, look, just start. And so I did. I started because anyone who did interviews for their dissertation, as I did, booking the interviews, then all the dates get changed. Then you do the interview, then you've got to transcribe the interview. This all, and the coding and the analysis. I mean, that takes time. So honestly, the best thing is just to start. If you start, you will have a foundation and you will find your way. If you don't start, you have no, how do you progress from nowhere? So start.
Start, just start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I promise to come back to everybody else. So Abir, what would your advice be? We can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay. My advice is to work on topic that you like or you have passion toward it, because it's really a very long journey, and it's need very hard time, a lot of time and efforts. If you don't like the topic, you will not dedicate this time and efforts. You will give up quickly. But if you have passion and you know the impact that you will have at the end of your dissertation, that will make the journey really very interesting, and it will give you the power to complete and to think about how you can find solution. In my dissertation, many times I changed the way I'm thinking about it, and just repeat all the research again. But if I don't, and you remember that, if I don't like my topic, and if I don't like or I don't have passion toward that, I will not do that.
That's true.
And that's my advice.
And honestly, I wish you could see the panel. If you can't, good on you. But I can see a lot of heads nodding like, yes, yes, yes. So let's come to you, Alexi. Alexi, what's your one piece of advice?
Well, I absolutely agree that you have to be passionate about your topic. And in my opinion, you also need to understand that this topic, this dissertation will contribute into your future development, into your future career. Ideally, if you do something that you will work on after you finish your studies during these several months of working on your dissertation. So that would be ideal, I think, if you work on the same thing that you will do after you finish your studies. So basically, you gain an experience in your area before you even finish your studies. So I think passion and contribution to your future career, it's actually two core components for really tasty dissertation cake. I think that
tasty dissertation cake. I like that. And again, lots of head nodding here. So we'll finish with you, Maximilian. What will be your one piece of advice?
So I would definitely agree that like the choice of a topic you really like is super important. Like for me as well, the dissertation was so game-changing for what I'm doing now. So I would recommend everyone, if you search a topic and you find something you really want to discover, also use the chance to theoretically discover the topic, because on the first point it often looks like a little bit exhausting and boring to read so much around it and to go so deep in the theory. But at the end, often it's like a really big chance and really interesting to go so deep in one special piece of work. So yeah, find yourself a good topic and also like enjoy the work on it.
Thank you so much. And thanks, Maximilian, Abir, Alexi, and Ritu. I must have been a bad master student, because I think it was end of April, end of May that I thought, I don't like my topic. I want to change the topic now. And I'd already done the proposal and all. And thank God I had a good supervisor, because my supervisor helped me to extract my thoughts and steer me towards what I really was passionate about. So I know many people online today have already chosen their topic and they have started. And thankfully, we've heard from the innovation managers, we've heard from Damesh and Klauss as well, and even from Melina. And what I would recommend to you is find how you can steer that dissertation towards what you're passionate about and start, like Ritu said, just start. Who knows what you're going to find in the journey. So thank you. So we have some questions coming in on Slido. I have one question also online. And if I may, can all the presenters, Damesh, Klauss, Maximilian, Ritu, if you could all put your microphones on, because I will be directing questions to you. For those of you that still want to post questions, the Slido ID is 54936, 54936. So you can just pick up your phone and go to sli.do and post questions. But let's start with a question on the chat. We have a question from Jamie. And Jamie's asking, does the manpower challenge involve building workers' absorptive capacity? And is this new knowledge for you? I'm guessing this question is for Klauss and Damesh. So they're asking about absorptive capacity amongst people that work in your innovation team. Is it a manpower challenge, or?
I think it was for Damesh.
Okay, was it for Damesh? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that.
On the chat.
Sorry, say again?
Yeah, can you see the question on the chat?
Yeah, I can see the question to Jamie. Yeah, the manpower challenge does involve building their absorptive capacity. We have to provide them, with the right types of training. For example, in my organization, most of our innovators are engineers. They're not necessarily business-minded. They're not entrepreneurs. And yet we're trying to get them to be more entrepreneurial in their approach. So there is one side of the coin is training them with the right skills to be able to develop their ventures further and do the right sort of development on that. And they'll learn those skills internally. From the recruitment perspective, I don't really get involved on the recruitment side, but I would. But having spoken to some of my colleagues who work in HR, they do recruit around certain skill sets. However, current crisis, that's all pending. But from personal experience, some of our projects that we have learned these skills internally. We had an amazing team that learned a lot around artificial intelligence and deep learning. And that has led to us being able to be competitive on future bids as well. And we wouldn't have had that skill set had they not gone on an entrepreneurial journey and had to learn those skills.
Okay, Thank you. And a question for you as well, Damesh. It says, maybe just a follow-on question, asking, how do you become an innovation manager? And what advice regarding career path would you give?
Good question. I had a very convoluted path to becoming an innovation manager. After I finished my studies, I was in the military. I was at Sandhurst to be an officer, and I was actually looking to be in the infantry, nothing even to do with engineering or entrepreneurship.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, I got injuries and got discharged, and then I went into engineering. And for many years, I was a mechanical engineer, very different industries. I worked in centrifugal pumps, I worked in rail power, nuclear power, and aerospace. But I was always interested in new ideas, new ways of working, entrepreneurialism outside of work. I got involved in meetups with other entrepreneurs and these sorts of activities. And I brought this skill set of what I learned, through personal development, through interaction, to my job at hand, and was always challenging the status quo. Almost everything I did at work, I asked why. Why are we doing it like this? Why are we not doing it a different way? Constantly challenging, and that, by having that challenging mindset and that questionative sort of way about me, I saw opportunities, and I saw that we were trying to harmonize innovation in my company, and then I sort of, I guess through organic, through chance, I ended up into that role, and I've then grown in that role all the way through. And it's constantly learning new skills all the time, learning from those around me, my peers, learning from other innovators. Yeah, that's sort of how I've ended up where I am today.
Wow. And Klauss?
Yeah, sure. I think there are some parallels here. I mean, I came from the science side of things. I mean, I did a PhD in molecular biology, basically, and I did a postdoc as well. And during that time, I realized I wanted to actually go into industry as my career path rather than staying in academia. And then it's been really a process of adding the business experience and the business skills to complement my technical background. And ever since, I've been focusing on the industry that makes the tools for those researchers like I once was. And so it's to a degree it's familiar territory for me. And the business side of things is what I've acquired largely through learning by doing over the years.
Okay. Thank you. And
I was going to say, just to add on that, my piece of advice there for anyone aspiring to be an innovation manager, work in this domain, is network. Get to know other innovation managers, innovators, really build a relationship with them. Find people that you can add value to and that can add value to your network.
So good, yeah. Thanks, that's so good, Damesh. And a point is noted here, would it be possible for us to get the titles, links to the dissertation from our alumni? I don't see that being a problem. And it would really be helpful to have the names of the books recommended by Damesh and Klauss. We'll get that across to you in the follow-up email after the event. But Ritu, talking about books, specific question for you here. It says, Ritu, can you recommend a book to read about that, the links to networks and innovation?
About the links to networks and innovation, that's interesting.
Yes. So I guess your area of research, networks and multiplex networks and all that you're doing, yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking at multiplex networks. Now, a couple of books that just, I mean, they're different, but they're linked to, I mean, I read lots of things around people and relationships. So in terms of networks, one of the things or innovation, one of the books that I quite enjoyed, because it was just a really nice read, was The Art of Innovation. And the guys at IDEO wrote that. But they also talk there about working with diverse teams. And for me, there's that link around networking and mixing with people who are very different from yourself. I was reading something recently about just we often stick to people who are the same as us, but actually it's different perspectives, different experiences that are going to be really rich. And in the book by IDEO, the IDEO guys, they talk about that. So that would probably be a good one. It's not specifically about networks, but they do look at innovation. Yeah.
And Ritu, if I'm sure you can share that with me, and I'll put it with a list of books to send out with a follow-up email. And I'm going to turn this question to Federica and Helen, because this is your forte. So 2 questions, slightly similar. How can I turn my dissertation into a publishable journal article? And do I have to get a distinction to be able to publish? And then in the same vein, it says, what journals would you recommend to try to publish our dissertation work in? So, Federica, would you start?
Can I answer? Okay, I'll start, and then if Helen wants to add something, might be a good idea. Well, first of all, I think you have to ask yourself, why do you want to publish your dissertation? What is what is the audience you are aiming to reach? Because publishing in academic journals is very time consuming, and usually the depth of the research that is required is a little bit beyond what is usually done in MSc dissertation. So typically the amount of data and information that you collect might not be enough in itself to be published on an academic journal, or surely in a good academic journal, because there is a lot of really bad quality academic journals out there, and the mistake you don't want to make is to have your stuff published in a bad quality journal, because that is actually detrimental, to the way in which your work is perceived if you put it in an outlet that is not sufficiently good quality. So one thing to be very aware of is the fact that there are bad quality academic journals out there. There is predatory publishing. There are people who will try to get paid for you to publish an article, and then then you will publish something in a journal that is of no value. So targeting high quality academic journals is very time consuming. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of experience. And as our PhD students know, even sometimes after a PhD, it's not so easy to do it. So it's a long journey, and you have to ask yourself, is it really what I want? Is it worth my while for my objective? Is it the audience I want to talk to? If it is, then I think, have a chat with your supervisor, with the academics, and see what kind of advice they can give you, because it will take a bit more coaching to be able to get to that direction. There are many ways, however, to get your work out there. For example, Melina has published a book that is aimed at practitioners, if I'm not mistaken. If that was Melina's target, and I think that has given her a lot of visibility. So there's many ways, I think, nowadays to get your work out there, and it might be a nice topic for another seminar, actually. How do you get your work disseminated?
Okay, so if I can just talk about the practicalities of the CMIR working papers as a possible prelude for publishing in journal articles. What tends to happen is that the best innovation topic dissertations are then reviewed by the supervisors, and some of those are then targeted for working paper series. And quite often, when those have been selected, the student writes their paper with their supervisor, because the student's done all the work and has got a distinction or a high merit in their dissertation, but they don't have the expertise to write an article. So I published 2 articles with former master's students, and they've both been on female entrepreneurship. So Federica's right, you need to think about why you would want to publish that. It does give you visibility, and it might be a prelude to being in an academic career. But even if you don't go into academia, having a journal article, it looks really good on your CV. It just gives you that bit of credibility. So it's not something that you tend to do by yourself. So I'm working with a couple of former master's students now on knocking their dissertations into shape for working papers. So it is very much a collaborative exercise rather than something you would do by yourself. But Federica's, there are the wrong journals out there and you would need to take advice from your supervisor about how to approach it, how you would structure an article for publication before you set off in that journey, because you might decide halfway through, this is not what I want to do. It is too much work, and it is a lot of work. So if there's anything else I can answer on that, let me know.
Yeah, thanks, Helen and Federica. I have a question here directed at the alumni. It said, the question says, what do you wish you knew when you were doing your degree at Birkbeck, and what has surprised you today? So who wants to start this? Melina, you're also an alumna, so feel free to add your bit. Yeah. I'm gonna pick on you guys now. So Ritu, what do you wish you knew? What did you, yeah, looking back?
Looking back, if I'd known what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done it. I lie. I actually really enjoyed the process. Clearly, I'm doing a PhD, so it was well worth doing. For me, one of the things that one of the things that I think I don't know if I discovered or just discovered the importance of, just the importance of breaking down everything. And it's something I do now with my work, my PhD, with everything. But certainly going through the master's process and dissertation specifically, while I was working, getting through a dissertation where, and now with a PhD, you've got this whole, massive thing ahead of you, and you just sort of think, actually break it down one step at a time, and the importance of that one step and just doing, one step. I think it's just the power of that. It seems like it's small, but it's massive.
Okay. And Alexi, I want to hear your view.
Yeah, I think I wish I knew a lot of things, actually. Well, first of all, as Maximilian said before, it's really important to start doing your literature review before, like as early as possible, because this is how you can figure out that, oh, actually, on my topic, it's not that, like, not a lot, not many specific literature or something like that. Or you can realize that you have to maybe change a little bit your methodology or even maybe your topic. So it's actually crucial to start as early as possible your literature review for your dissertation. Second thing I wish I knew is, my English writing skills, I think academic writing skills, because it was quite difficult for me because, yeah, obviously English is not my native language, so it was quite difficult for me to write dissertation and to write even like essays in the beginning, because in my country there is no such thing as like essays and dissertation. I mean, mostly we pass our exams by like verbally, or yeah, sometimes it's writing, but it's not like academic writing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would definitely help me to finish my dissertation early and probably get higher mark. But in general, I think it's quite difficult to say that, oh, I wish I knew that. I wish, because otherwise, if I would knew everything, it would not be that interesting to study. And, yeah, I think.
Okay. Let me put a plug there, because I am also an alumna, as you know, and thankfully I was able to, plug into this towards the very end, and that's just take advantage of everything that Birkbeck has to offer, other than just your core program, because I started going for the what's it called, the pioneer session. I plugged this.
Yes.
I did my master's over 2 years, and it wasn't until my second year that I even knew that I could do pioneer. But fast forward to when I was writing my dissertation, I had this pool of entrepreneurs that I could interview. It was so easy for me to get people to interview. I also stumbled into one of the CIMR events towards my second year, and honestly, it has really, really positioned me and helped me shape my whole dissertation and what I do now. So plug-in, I would say, you know what, thankfully I caught it towards the end, plug into everything that it has to offer. I mean, Damesh has also said networking is an invaluable skill, whatever you do. And this gives you an opportunity as well to network and just don't be all into your work. So I'm going to take 2 more questions and then round up. Damesh, somebody is asking here. Well, I don't know. I'm going to ask it anyway. The person has asked, how did you arrive at your present position at Airbus? And Klauss, to you as well. And did your MSc or your dissertation help?
Yeah, okay. I'll start there. How I got to my role in Airbus. I haven't done an haven't done an MSc or anything like that. So I started in Airbus as a mechanical engineer. I was building ground support equipment that we use to build satellites. So many jigs and tooling around that. But as I said, I was always involved, interested in innovation, in new ways of working. In the early days of 3D printing, everyone still saw it as a fad, a bit of a toy. I managed to source a free 3D printer, a second-hand one, bring it into the company, start playing around with it. And even when I was being told to stop and get on with my day job, I carried on doing it. I didn't listen to people. I knew the value of doing something like this. I went to work every day willing to be fired because I wanted to make a change. So I just kept doing it, and then slowly people started taking notice and saying, "Oh, actually, wait a minute, this is making savings. We're able to print tools that would cost us thousands of pounds for a few pounds," and just through these sorts of actions, and again, keeping my eyes open. And when I saw an opportunity within the organization that they wanted to, as I said, harmonize innovation, everything was very siloed and a bit of a mess. I put my hand out and said, "Look, I think I'm a good person for this. Here's why. Here's what I do outside of work. The networks I've built outside of work. I was able to show that I had networks with entrepreneurs, incubators, accelerators, stuff that I was able to show. I was able that built upon just me being a mechanical engineer, and the value that I could bring to the role. And that's how I got into being an innovation manager."
Thank you. And Klauss, I guess you've talked about it before, but did your dissertation help you get here?
In a way it did. I mean, maybe to build on that a bit, my first role out of academic research and in business, very much really in the beginning built on my technical know-how and basically supporting scientists doing similar work as I had done myself in the lab before. And over time, there were more and more opportunities to add business experience, initially on a regional scale, more in kind of tactical marketing. And through working with product managers in that company, I learned actually what the role of a product manager looks like. And I realized that this is something that I would be interested in doing myself. And so a few years later, then I basically had that opportunity to make that step. And it's ever since been a continuous learning process. And that's, I think, to a point where now I'm comfortable taking responsibility for the strategy of our business unit. And that's really building on the technical expertise, but also really 10 years of experience doing that in the business.
Thank you so much, Klauss. There is one more question, but I'm going to hand over to Helen to do the closing remarks, and perhaps she could answer the question and lead on to that. So someone has asked Helen, potential PhD student for you next year, asking, how do I apply for a PhD in entrepreneurship at Birkbeck?
Okay, well, that's a very interesting question. The normal route through is to find a supervisor. So the important thing is to contact the potential supervisor and say, is this topic of interest to you? And then once there is an agreement with a first and maybe a second supervisor, is to say, well, this is the process by which you go forward. But it's really important to identify somebody that you feel compatible with, that research interests are the same. So that's the starting point for doing that. And then there is obviously a formal application process, and in some cases there are scholarships available to support PhD students. So I think that's on that. So I'll be interested in talking to the person who's applying to do a PhD with me, and I'm enjoying working with Doyen, who I'm second supervising, and it's great to see Melina again. Melina was in the class a long time ago. So it's been a great event. So thank you to the speakers, to Damesh and Klauss, and to the panel. Really interesting hearing about your personal experiences in your professional career. So it's been absolutely wonderful, and the whole point about networking has been great. And I shall follow up with Ritu to find out about her work, because she's obviously working in an area of research that I'm working on myself. We are interested in feedback from people who have attended, both the speakers and the students and other people that have joined this session. We're coming up to term now, and as Federica said, we're going to be holding more events. Matthew and Federica will be doing one, and Sevilla Romeo will be doing one about COVID-19 and is the crisis driving or hampering digital transformation in organizations. But the timing of that is going to be a bit more difficult. So we want to know from you what time of day, what topics you have, what kind of formats. So we'll be asking you shortly next week for your feedback on how we can generate your interest in keeping alumni events going. So I think it's brilliant. This has been a brilliant networking event, and we've learned so much from each other. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Federica. It's been great. Thank you particularly Doyen and Melina.
Thank you, Helen.
And see you at the next event. Bye-bye.